Well, hi everybody. If you watched our video from last week where we took the old girl out of hibernation and got our first trip of 2025 in, then you know that we thought that spring had finally come to northern Nevada. We planned on taking the car out again today, but it actually snowed yesterday and it's raining today. So spring is not quite here yet in northern Nevada. So since we have a nice soggy day, an indoor day, I thought I should probably attend to a few maintenance issues that should have done over the winter. There were a few things the old car needed when I put her away last fall that I had conveniently forgot about over the winter. And the little trip we took last weekend reminded me that those things still need to be done. So it's a great day to attend to a few maintenance issues on it. She's running a little bit advanced, so we need to retime her. The brakes are a little soft, so we're going to tune in the brakes a little bit. And my train whistle, exhaust whistle, is not working properly, and that's something that just has to be fixed. I can't drive a Model A without an exhaust whistle. The two things go hand in hand as far as I'm concerned. And there's a few places that we should probably lube the chassis as well. I can't remember the last time I packed the front wheel bearings on this car, so that means it's probably certainly due. And there's a few other places that I think a little grease would help. So come along for the ride as we do a little maintenance tour today. Okay, the first thing we're going to do today is we're going to retime it. She's running a little bit advanced. And the first step in retiming a Model A engine is you need to put the engine in a top dead center position on the number one cylinder. There's two ways to move your engine to that position. You can use the traditional Model A crank, or they make this special timing wrench that you can use to turn the nut that the crank engages with. This has the advantage of allowing you to move the engine either direction, whereas using a crank, if you miss the little dimple in the timing gear and go too far, then you got to go all the way around again. You can't just back it up. So we're going to try and use this wrench today. This is actually a fairly new acquisition for me, so I'm not that handy with it, but I think we can figure it out. Okay, the first thing you need to do to find top dead center to retime your engine is you need to remove the timing pin on the front of your timing cover. Use a 9/16 inch wrench and go ahead and take this pin out. Take it all the way out, reverse it, and put the pointed end back in the hole. And then, either using your engine crank or this special wrench on your front pulley nut, you want to move the engine until you feel this pin drop into a little recess in the timing gear. And it moves very slightly, so you really need to be focused and watching it, because it doesn't take much to go past it. There it is right there. You see that it went into the hole a little bit. I'll back the motor up. You can see it comes back out. Go forward with the motor and it goes back in the hole. It's very slight. And let me show you on another timing gear exactly what's happening. Okay, here's the timing gear that I always keep underneath the seat when I'm out on tour, because they do break from time to time. And you can see right here is a little dimple that's drilled into the side of the timing gear. When you're turning the engine with the timing pin reversed, it's riding along the edge of the gear right here. And when you hit top dead center, that pin's going to drop right into that little dimple. It's a very slight dimple, so it doesn't move a whole lot, but that's what's happening. And that's telling you that the number one piston is at the very top of its stroke. Some people take a drill bit and enlarge these slightly. But if you pay attention, you'll be able to figure out when it goes into it. Now, another thing that I do is just a visual aid. As you can see, I've put a white paint stripe on the pulley housing, and there's a corresponding white paint stripe on the timing cover. And this is just a visual aid to let you know when the dimple is coming up. If you turn the motor until those two white lines line up, that's telling you to anticipate that the pen might drop into the dimple. Now you can't just line up the white lines and know that you're at top dead center, because it's only at top dead center every other time. Remember, the pulley goes around twice for every power stroke of the number one piston. So it's only accurate 50% of the time. But it is a great visual aid to let you know that, hey, this might be the time around that the pen will drop. It's just a great way to know that you're coming up on the dimple. And it's accurate, as I said, every other time. Now, another way you can confirm that you're at top dead center is to look in the number one hole, spark plug hole, and make sure that the piston is all the way up. I don't know that I can get the light in there and the camera in there at the same time, but if you look inside the number one spark plug hole, you should be able to see that the piston is at the very top of its power stroke. Make sure that both valves are closed too, because if you're off by 180 degrees, one of the valves will just start to be coming open. And then of course you also can open up your distributor and make sure that the rotor is pointing towards the number one point there. That lets you know that you're on the power stroke. Okay, make sure your spark advance is all the way up, and then just come down just one notch. Okay, a must-have tool that's come out sometime in the last 12 or 15 years is these new Rex timing wrenches. If you don't have one of these, you definitely want to get one. It makes timing your engine very simple. You simply line the notch up with the notch for the rotor in your lobes there. Loosen up the screw. And then turn it clockwise. It says twice according to the directions. What you're doing here is you're taking out any backlash that might be in the system. And then you stop it right when the mark on the wrench touches the number 4 spark plug connection there on the distributor. And tighten your screw back up. And that's all there is to it. Okay, the next little task we're going to do is we're going to try and get this exhaust whistle working again. I'm not really sure why it's not working. Basically, the issue I'm having with it is my pull wire is not pulling very easily. It's sticking. And I can see it's been rubbing on the fender here, so I think I need to take it off and remount it and turn it a little bit so that this little lever doesn't hit the fender. See, it's taking a little bit of the paint off the fender, so I need to take it off and rotate it ever so slightly so that this is not hung up on the fender. Not sure how it ever got moved. It was working just fine, but just a simple remount. Just take the muffler clamp bolts off and just remount it. See if it solves my problem. Because I do have an exhaust whistle on this car, I actually have two different muffler clamps. The first one, which I've just removed, holds the exhaust cutout to the manifold, and the second one that I need to remove right here holds the cutout to the muffler. So they're exactly the same stock Model A clamps, but you need two of them instead of one. So let's get the second one off. Okay, well, I think we figured out what our problem is. The butterfly in the cutout has become disformed. Obviously it must have gotten overly hot or something, but the butterfly is deformed, and that is allowing the control rod to move further down than it was supposed to, and that's why all of a sudden it's so stiff I can't pull it open. So we're going to have to replace this butterfly before we can put it back on. Okay, I put it next to another cutout I have, and you can see that the lever is at a much different angle than the one I just took off the car. So this is not supposed to be that far back. It's supposed to be more like that one there. So got a little repair to do before we can put it back on the car. Well, it's going to take longer to repair this butterfly than I have today to fool with it. So I'm just going to go ahead and mount the muffler back to the car without the exhaust whistle, so that I can at least use the car, drive the car if I need to. But we'll get on this right away and get that exhaust whistle back on the car as soon as possible. Best way to put on a muffler if you're doing it by yourself and don't have a helper to hold it, just put a floor jack underneath it, jack it right into position. I'm going to need to loosen the tailpipe clamp, because without that whistle it's in a slightly different position, so I got to loosen the clamp on the back of the car. Okay, we're at the back of the car where the muffler support clamp is. Just need to loosen this. Okay, got a good mated surface there, and the jack will hold it until I get the clamps on. I know some guys like to use a high temperature silicone to help seal the muffler clamp. I use this high temperature furnace cement to do it. This is like a real thick toothpaste consistency, and you can cream it into the concave of the bracket. When you bolt it on, the excess will squeeze out. You just wipe it off with a wet rag. It makes a nice clean install, lasts for a long time, and stops those exhaust leaks from happening. You can get this stuff at any hardware store. Okay, once you get your bolts tight, all the excess furnace cement kind of oozes out. Just wipe it down with a wet rag and it makes a nice clean install. Give it a few minutes to dry. You're ready to hit the road. Okay, the brakes were a little soft on our last tour, so we'll jack up each wheel and click them in another notch or two, see if we can't get a little more stopping power out of them. You know, 2 clicks was too much. We're dragging a little bit. Let's back it off one. Still dragging slightly, but just one little spot, so we'll run with that. Well, they don't look too bad. Hasn't been too long since I've done this apparently. But we'll get them all cleaned up and give them a fresh coat of grease. They'll still look pretty good, no pits in them. So we'll get them cleaned up and get them re-greased and keep running them. Last a long time if you keep them greased. Well, packing wheel bearings is a very messy job. You just grab your bearing, get yourself a big old handful of grease, and just cream it in all the cracks and around all the rollers till you get all the nooks and crannies filled. There's no clean way to do it. Just put on some good latex gloves and have at it. If you like making mud pies when you were a kid, you can have a lot of fun with this. Just cream it in there and cream it in there and cream it in there. Just keep working it until all the nooks and crannies are packed full of grease. Not sure how often the service bulletins say you should do this, but I make it a point to do it at least once every summer. If I go on a long trip, I'll probably do it 2 times this summer. Doesn't take that long, and it's good insurance to make sure you don't heat up a bearing and ruin a spindle. When you get those little bumps on the back side, then you know you've got it creamed in there real good because it's coming out in the same pattern as the rollers. So that means there's no empty spaces in the rollers. So then you know you got her good and greased up. Good for a couple thousand miles. When it comes to how tight to make the axle nut, I Tighten it up until I start feeling resistance on the drum. Get it in there good and snug. Get those bearings to seat in their races. And when you start feeling resistance on the drum, back it off just enough that you can get your cotter pin in. And it goes without saying, you never reuse the cotter pin. Always get a new cotter pin, especially one that holds your wheel on. You don't want to take a shortcut there. Okay, I've gone ahead and adjusted the brakes on the other 3 wheels and repacked the front wheel bearings on the driver's side off camera. Now it's time to lubricate the chassis with the old grease gun, hit all the zerks, give everything a nice shot of grease. This video is running a little long, so I'm not going to bore you and show you me doing that. According to the calendar, good weather's right around the corner, so if you've yet to give your Model A a little pre-season maintenance love, it's time to do that. These cars need to get out on the road. They were made to be driven, not stored in garages, sheds, and barns. So let's get that maintenance done. Let's get these cars out on our favorite back roads and enjoy driving them. Be safe out there. Thanks for watching. We greatly appreciate it. If you enjoyed the video, please like, comment, and subscribe. It really does help the channel. Thank you so much.